Start Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhudeva Cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So yesterday we were we'll recap whatever we discussed yesterday. We were discussing the definition of artha, and we discussed 8 kinds of Lakshmis: the Adi Lakshmi, Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Gaja Lakshmi, Veera Lakshmi, Santana Lakshmi, Vijay Lakshmi, and Vidya Lakshmi. So these 8 Lakshmis are considered as an integrated, you know. So if there is no integration, what does it do? It is a imbalanced growth, and imbalanced growth certainly will create limitless imbalances in our system. Then we studied the conflict in regards to how the capitalism and communist ideas came about. The original principle in the Western world began with we quoted A.N. Whitehead. He said how that Christianity, kind of going oscillating between wealth and consider wealth to be sin. And eventually, in one sense, the thoughts of communism came from envy of wealth or hatred towards wealth. And unfortunately, that same philosophy, protesting against everything what was Catholic, started by Martin Luther, not the Martin Luther who started the freedom for the black people. He was a monk, but he gave up his monkhood and started the Protestant philosophy. And the Protestant philosophy gave rise to capitalistic idea, wherein the warrior class and monkhood was losing the respect, and the traders and the business people started gaining the respect. So this conflict is going on. We saw that the whole journey of capitalism and communism. Right. So therefore, when there is such a conflict, when there is no clear idea, it is but natural that people think from a very extreme perspective. Those who are making money, they think from a very leftistic idea. It's a very strange. Therefore, when we go back to the Vedic principle, whether it is Mahabharata, whether it is Yajurveda, whether it is Ramayana, whether it is Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, whatever principle of thoughts are there in the Vedas, but there is underlining principle is the same. And what is that underlining principle? The underlining principle is called as integrated growth. Slide number 2, we see Dharma is called as a perfect foundation. Dharma gives rise to perfect foundation. Artha gives rise to integrated prosperity, what we saw in 8 Lakshmis. And integrated prosperity also gives rise to wholesome desires. Unfortunately, like yesterday, Chetan was asking the question of why wealth has been basically despised so much. at least in the mental state. Because at some point of time, there were many philosophers, and especially such philosophy took the shape of an organized system, and that is a Shunyavad philosophy. And what did Shunyavad say? Shunyavad said any desire you have is a cause of your trouble. Therefore, give up all desires. It became so artificial. But here, any book you take, any Vedic book, it talked about wholesome desires, kama. Just see, dharma is there, perfect foundation. Artha is there, integrated prosperity. Kama is there, wholesome desire. This is called as Tri Varga. This is called as Tri Varga. If Tri Varga is kept where it's supposed to be, we always discuss this. If you are efficient in something, then you are not conscious of it. Once again, if you are efficient in something, you are not conscious of it. If you are able to breathe properly, if you do not have an asthma, if you do not have some breathing problem, if you do not have cough or cold, then what happens? You are not conscious of breathing because you are efficient in that activity. Where do we put our thoughts and ideas and concentration, our thoughts? Where we lack it. When somebody lacks something, their attention repeatedly goes there. When you do not have a guarantee of getting your meal in the evening, your consciousness fully gets involved in getting for that meal. But one who is habituated to get his or her meal every day at the same time, they are not conscious of it. They just walk to the table, they walk to the place where they are supposed to eat. So therefore, is these three vargas, if they're in the right place, then what you do is, you basically do your sadhana for your moksha. But the moksha sadhana can never be possible perfectly when our dharma, our artha and kama is in doldrum. And this is what we will get to see in the Shastras. We will discuss little bit, did India ever achieve this reality? And that is another sad narratives which we have received. The narrative of poverty, the narrative of isolation, the narrative of even during the 1947 independence, one of the great infamous personality said, India's lack of prosperity is caused by too much of religiosity. Because of dharma, because of God, therefore India is suffering so much. But as I said, if you study, one has to study the history properly. The 300 years economic history and 2000 years economic history has been studied properly, and it has been proved that till the 1720, the Indian GDP was 26%, 24, 26, 25, 26. In this way, China and India were basically competing with each other. But then what happened during the 17th century, with the fall of Mughal Empire, and before only Mughal Empire had fallen, the Marathas, who had spread up to Peshawar, from Tanjavur to Peshawar, they had their influence. But what was the drawback? The drawback was the valor was there, the intelligence was there, but the vision and the Vaishya prosperity was not there. And therefore, even though the power was there, what happened was, some of the kings in North India, they felt very oppressed by the Maratha forces. And the Britishers came. One interesting point is, the Mughals and the Islamic forces, they settled down here. They did destroy the culture on a physical platform, on a gross platform. Some of them did take their wealth, Ghori, Ghazni, but after that, the wealth was staying in India only. Therefore, up until 17th century, it is not made up stories. It is not talking about this was there 5,000 years ago. It is just 1740. Please, if you read, a lot of research on this properly. This is not taught in our school books. This is not taught in our college campuses. But the researchers have been now actually they're discussing in IIT. There is an MBA course. They do teach this. So what happened? As Will Durant said, there was prosperity, but there was lack of political power. And even though India was an economical force, the Veer Lakshmi was lacking. And because Veer Lakshmi was lacking, Britishers looted India to such an extent, slide number 3, that India was looted by the British Empire. Forest land, today evening, when Milind will speak, he is dealing with the forest people. There was a Forest Act formulated by the Britishers. I'll give one example. They formulated this tax, and what was it? Generally, the forest land belonged, any forest land which was close to any village belonged to those villagers. And the villagers would go there, collect whatever fallen things. When the Britishers made this law, till then, the forest land which belonged to certain villages, the average 10 trees would be cut every year. Only 10 trees. When the Britishers took over, 10,000 trees were cut and transported on the ship to Britain. Now taxation, even the worst criminal Aurangzeb, nothing to appreciate about him. You know how much tax he was doing? 1/6. 1/6. It is about 16% tax. But the Britishers took the tax to 50%. As I said, envy of the wealth does not stop you from being poor. Envy of the wealth makes you loot others. So the taxation was only 1/6, whether it is Chanakya's period, whether it is Aurangzeb's period, whether it is Yudhishthir's period, whether it is Lord Ramachandra's period. It was very less. And what happened? India in 1700, which its income was 27%, came up to 3% GDP in 1950. And therefore, one of the stupidest idea, the English speaking people will say, oh, because of the British, we became educated. And education, what did it do? It made us become poor historically, poor spiritually, poor from the financial perspective, poor from the social perspective also. It is not made of figures. You have to study a little bit. And therefore, from 27%, it became 3% in 1950. Right? And we have not gone beyond 5 or 6%. And why it is so? Because we have lost the understanding of integrated growth. When there is an integrated growth, then what does it do? It grows very beautifully. We'll come to that. So slide number 4 explains about lack of vision. Unity was not there. And very interesting. One of the interesting principle is the Shastras do praise the kings, do praise the saintly people, right? Especially when the kings were praised, they are called as, they are called as Narapati, the representation of Lord Vishnu. And his kings had this Bahuparak, very huge eology. official eology, it's a very interesting if you study. Many kings took them very seriously. The Mayavad philosophy, unfortunately, feeling that I am God, became so strong that they had the audacity to say that nothing will happen to me. They were seeing the danger very close to their borders, but they would not take it seriously. And the Britishers utilized this principle and they flattered them more and more, more and more, took their help, destroyed the next king, subjugated him, and destroyed this king also. To such an extent, in the 17th century, the Mughal Empire had fallen. But whoever was the empire, if you know the history, Rajaram Mohan Rai came to London. He died in Bristol. He did not die in India. He came to London. He came for two reasons. He was sponsored by the Mughal Empire, whatever he was, for asking special favor from the British Empire that please give me extended territory and increase my stipend. The king of Hastinapur sitting and asking from the British, and therefore Rajaram Mohan Rai ji went there for Sati and for this one, right? So now also we see those who are not from a royal family, but they have this such a ego. हम तो राज परिवार के होके, what do? They work for somebody who does not come from any Raj Parivar. Some of the kings still go and fall at the feet of an Italian person. And this was the greatest tragedy. So let us come back to the original king. Now that is very interesting. This Mughal king has gone to send Rajaram Mohan Rai to beg from the British Queen. Now Lord Krishna comes to Pandavas when the Pandavas were in the forest. Just see the psychology. We have to understand this carefully. Krishna, Balramji, Satyaki, they all come. Where do they come? They come to the forest where the Pandavas were living. And they say, my dear Yudhishthir, we are willing to support you with the army and the resources. You come and settle in Dwarka. What did Yudhishthir Maharaj say? Yudhishthir Maharaj said, thank you, Krishna. He is rejecting the favor be given by Krishna. He said, thank you, Krishna. I would collect my resources by your grace, but the work will be mine. I will complete my vanvas. We will collect our resources and then we will strike back against our enemies. It will happen based upon our efforts and endeavor. So, however, we try to compare Yudhishthira Maharaj to be a recluse, but he was not like that. His ambition and his desire to grow was based upon the foundational principle of dharma, and therefore he grew. The concept of Rama Rajya and Dharma Rajya is based upon these two great personalities. Great foundation of dharma, but expansionist in regards to their ambition for the sake of dharma. Therefore, what is it? It is not a sin to earn. And there is a debate between one of the great rishi called as Shaunaka. Shaunaka Rishi is one of the rishis who was performing the sacrifice, and Suta Goswami came and spoke Bhagavatam to the rishis headed by Shaunaka Rishi. And Shaunaka Rishi came to meet the Pandavas. And what did Shaunaka Rishi do? Shaunaka Rishi certainly talked the flip side of wealth to the Pandavas. Please understand, when the flip side of wealth is spoken, that is only to warn you that you may get destroyed, not to withdraw from earning. many times our affirmations, nowadays there is so much of this law of attraction, this concept, but there is an inherent flaw in our understanding itself. What is the inherent flaw? The inherent flaw is money by nature evil. I need to do just the needful. But no, the alertness is there. If you're alert about it, then you say money is not sin, money is not mean, wealth is always good for the higher cause. So Shaunakrishi tried to discourage the Pandavas who were in the forest. And what did he say? A wealthy person fears other king. He fears water. Now the another danger which some of the environmentalists are speaking, because of the rainy season is going to start, along with the corona. There was a joke. Delhi people were saying, "Arey Bhagwan, kuch to nirnay karo. Either you keep us inside the house or you bring us outside." हम लोग घर में बैठे हैं रूल पालन करने के लिए, but now you are sending this earthquake. There was a mild earthquake. If there is an earthquake, you have to run outside. If you run outside, there is a corona. Decide something. So water, the king should fear flood. King should fear forest fire. King should fear robbers. And death, the fear of death. Anybody should. Money gives rise to miserliness, ego, conceit, fear, and anxiety. These are evil born of wealth. So therefore, money is earned through misery. So if you destroy the misery, then the money will also be destroyed. Just see, money was compared to misery. So then what did Yudhishthira Maharaj say? Yudhishthira Maharaj said, why he desires wealth. He said, my dear teacher, Shaunak Rishi, I am not desiring wealth because I am greedy. I desire wealth because I am ambitious. And what is my ambition? My ambition is to provide, empower people. He said, I am in the forest, but that does not mean my tendency of Rajatva has gone away. I still consider myself from the royal family. And being a royal family, being a Raja, Ranjati iti Raja, providing, entertaining my citizen, making them stable is my responsibility. Therefore, I will never give up the desire to earn wealth. So it was a very clear, and then seeing his conviction, what did Shaunak Rishi say? Very interesting. Shaunak Rishi said, my dear Yudhishthir, you should earn wealth, which is called as Yoga Janita. Yoga Janita. Yoga Janita. What is yoga? Yoga is Dharma plus Kriya. If there is Dharma plus Kriya, there is an inner development of Shraddha, and with that, your efforts are connected. Yoga and Kriya. Dekho, Kriya to earn money and yoga for the inner development. What does it do? It gives rise to limitless prosperity. It was not possible to beat Duryodhan. Duryodhan was a very powerful capitalist without having any communistic idea of helping others. In fact, the Mahabharata says Duryodhan had charged his citizen. Typically, like what the socialist will do, he had charged his citizen 10 years advance tax. Please hear this. He had taxed people 10-year advance. So how can people be happy? And then when Shaunak Rishi gave his blessing, Yudhishthira Maharaj came to Daumya Rishi, his guru, and Daumya Rishi was the one who gave him Akshay Patra. Means Suryadev gave, but Daumya Rishi was the one who gave the mantra. And one of the commentators, a Vaishnav commentator, What does it define Akshay Patra as? He said Akshay Patra is defined as, it is a Akshay Patra. Mother Bhumi is synonymous to Akshay Patra. The intelligence which has been given to you, which is like Akshay Patra. But you have to do something. आपको थोड़ा सा प्रयास करना पड़ेगा. Again, when you read about the Akshay Patra, the inexhaustible cooking pot, which they were feeding thousands of people, the Pandavas, the Akshay Patra, for it to become inexhaustible, some cooking had to be done by the Pandavas. They had to cook some items, and then it would expand and increase. So therefore, Yudhishthir was given, and he actually got this Akshay Patra. Right. And then we see in the Mahabharata, there is a story of Akshay Patra and Shamantaka Mani coming from sun god only. Yudhishthira Maharaj received Akshay Patra and he supported thousands of young students who were traveling with him. On the other hand, Satrajit also received a special money called as Shamantaka. And what was Shamantaka doing? Shamantaka was doing, it was producing limitless gold every day. Now Satrajit was not the king. He was like a very huge landlord in a Yadava kingdom. Now Krishna comes to Satrajit. Very interesting. Krishna comes to Satrajit and he says, my dear Satrajit, you know what? You are keeping this money, but for you to handle this money will not be possible. There will be attack on you. He said, why don't you give this money to Ugrasen Maharaj, and you also get to worship regularly. Now Krishna was not taking away, he was only suggesting. He was only suggesting, please understand. Krishna inspired Satrajit. Satrajit did not agree, and what happened? Satrajit lost his life. Satrajit offended Krishna. Satrajit was responsible for separating Krishna and Balaram. It's a very interesting. I'll give another example during the Vijayanagar. Now, a very interesting article which talks about how prosperity should be handled according to different situations. Shivaji Maharaj and Krishna Deva Rai, both were very dharmic people. During Shivaji's time, Maharashtra, if you see Maharashtra's landscape, there is lot of adventurous realities, painful realities are there for prosperity. Therefore, what did Shivaji Maharaj do? Focus on building water bodies. Made these forts wherever there is some resources. But Krishna Deva Rai had an entire Golconda diamond mine. And the diamond mine was managed in such a way that there were certain size of diamond, certain carat diamond will belong to the citizen. And certain size of the diamond will belong to the king. And what made this give an impetus for people to find gold, diamond, share with the king. King was not taxing them. King was giving them protection. But they were coming out of inspiration and giving, and therefore Vijayanagar kingdom, it is said that every year they were saving about 2.5 million gold coins. They would sell the diamond, but turn into, because investmenting was not there, so they turn into gold coins. And therefore, when Vijayanagar lost their battle against the 5 Islamic forces, the loot happened for 6 months. 6 months the looting happened, but fortunately what happened, while looting was happened, no doubt, but one of the main minister of Vijayanagar, he carried wealth consisting of 700 elephants and almost like 7,000 horseback took this wealth and stored it in the forest of Chenchula near Ugra Narsingha. And for 200 years, when the French came to India, the Dutch came to India, the British came to India, the search for wealth happened. In Indira Gandhi in 1970, she basically banned any excavation in that area. It's a very interesting story, right? So the next one is Narad Muni, right? I talked about our Krishna Deva Rai. What does Narad Muni say? When did he say? Now we know Narad Muni only as a great devotee of Krishna playing upon his veena. But in that very Bhagavatam, it is also explained that he had studied everything. Mahabharata says he had studied everything. And what does Narad Muni say? In the UK, in UP, in European world, there was a conflict between the royalty and the business people. And what does Narad Muni say? Your governance should respect all the businesses. This is Narad Muni saying. The administrative should not harass them. Just see, this is 5,000 years ago. But instead that they are inspired to do business happily. They should not be charged with more taxes or charge them less. Now, very interesting, as I said, 1.6. It doesn't pinch so much. But when you are charged 50%, 60%, in France 2013 or 2012, if you all know about this, the same socialist government, they said those millionaires, those who are making more than 1 million euros, will be charged more than 70% taxes. And they did charge that much of taxes, right? And that created such an unrest. The two most wealthiest people, they changed their citizenship, right? Citizenship, they changed their citizenship. And then the football team, the football organization, and many organizations, they started threatening the government. And meanwhile, the prime minister, whatever president he was spending 10,000 euros for his hair, keeping it properly from the government's fund. So therefore, what do you see? You see, when taxation are increased, that gives rise to, what does it do? It gives rise to lots of corruption. The corruption happens. Why does the corruption happens? The corruption happens because the people don't want to give that much of money. Why would they want to give that much of money? Why they should give also? So to avoid the taxing, they become corrupt. Before they might be greedy, now they become corrupt. And the corruption and greed, the individual business people, now the corruption and greed become part of the system. It becomes part of the system, and it becomes part of the system. At the end of the day, the money, as much as government expects to receive, does never receive. And eventually France had to abolish this tax because they did not make much money at all. Only they got curses of the people. And therefore, when there is envy by the government itself of the wealth of its own people and destroy their desire to earn more and more, what happened? Why there is an impetus to earn? There will be no impetus. So there is no impetus to earn because your taxes are taken so much and it is not used properly also. So therefore, one of the greatest injustice, what is the greatest injustice? That somebody else is earning and some other person feels the entitlement. And the middleman called as government, trying to be nice to the underprivileged, they become as wealthy as the business people. See some of the politicians, right? They come from not what is their expertise? Their expertise shamelessness. What is their expertise? Their expertise looting. You know, some of the politicians make so much of money without having a business. And why this? Because the so-called champions of the underprivileged. Now, if you please study, if you study carefully, since the social security system was implemented in America, the concept of providing to the exploited, oppressed one, there are amazing dialogues. You know, the black themselves, there are many blacks, they say this security system has destroyed our people. In 1960, the number of children born out of wedlock was only 25% among the black. Now it has become 75%. Because social security does not give you justice. Social security gives you entitlement. Social security is a punishment of those who make money and reward for those who are lazy. So therefore, it is a very sad principle, and therefore there is a concept when the subjects are married to government, it only creates illicit children. When the government married the subject, then it creates illicit children, and that is what they are saying in America. So therefore, then the question is raised, but what about greedy capitalists making so much of money? We are going to come to that. You know what Narad Muni is saying, the duty of the government, and when I say government, it is not the government alone. Government, you could be the government, you could be the leader. So when you see someone is a poor, has the potential to grow, invest in them, whether charity or investment does not matter, it will help them to grow. One of the greatest tragedy in India, there is limitless talent. But what we do, we give charity to those who are already fed very nicely. We give charity to those who are actually have lot of resources. We simply keep on increasing their resources. We'll come to that. You know, so therefore, the this is the words of the communist people. Strong do what they can do, the weak suffer what they must. Right? But if you understand properly the principle of Narad Muni and Lakshmi, we are going to come there. What they're saying, Buddhi and Kriya, when they're combined, that gives rise to great development. Man exists by instinct, but progresses by intelligence, one of the philosophers said. Right? And therefore, when there is so much of emphasis on luxury rather than stability. Today evening, I'm going to ask a question to Milinji. You know, he made a very interesting point about India competing in the Olympic Games. We'll discuss that. Very interesting principle. Art can only be the flower that grows out of wealth. It cannot be wealth substitute. The medicine came before Michelangelo. Yes, art is important, but if people do not have anything, if you spend so much of money and on something which is not daily necessity, then what happens? That causes great trouble. Now comes Narad Muni's beautiful, powerful, explanation. How do you deal with your greed? How do you deal with your ambition? So Narad Muni told Yudhishthira Maharaj, he said, regularly listen from experts about Dharma and artha, ethics and wealth. When you come to spiritual satsang, when you come to religious activities, when you sit in the home, either we shamelessly discuss about wealth or desensitively we discuss about not earning only. Right? So Narad Muni said regularly discuss wealth and ethics. I gave that example of a butcher one who's killing thousands of chicken but doing charity, and somebody who's doing a good business but does not give anything. If you ask me, it's a very, very my personal subjective opinion. Subjective opinion, because this is a very dynamic principle. It is not black and white. Whenever I tell this story to children, they say, Prabhuji, why can't you do good business and also give charity? Life never always happens those proper balance. It doesn't happen that all the time. There are few such people who do good business and also give charity. Right. So if there is this option is given to us, we are here. We have to choose between the two. Who is doing something good business but never gives anything to anybody. We can't steal his money. We can only inspire. But there is other guy, he is into this business, makes millions of dollars, but as a great charity, my sympathy would go to the guy who is doing this, right? Because at least he's thinking from the perspective of connecting to people. But our Narad Muni, he says from very beginning, if you tell people about wealth and dharma, then what will happen? What to speak of giving 70% of the charity? They would give 90% also, because they know how to make more and more and more. And there is no hesitation. That becomes their seva. No, that becomes their mukti. In the Mahabharata, there was a time when Janak Maharaj, Krishna quotes Janak Maharaj in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Very interesting. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna does not quote many names. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he talks about different vibhutis. But otherwise, he doesn't give names. He just gives the principle. But in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna does give the name of who? Janak Maharaj. At one point of time, Janak Maharaj wanted to take sannyas. He told his wife, you should read the discussion between Janak and Janak Maharaj's wife. Janak Maharaj's wife was not sentimental. There was not an outburst, but there was a reasonable and logical discussion. And she asked this question to him. He said, my dear husband, what great thing will you do other than what you are already doing now? इससे बढ़कर आप क्या कर सकते हो? You are doing really good. So why you need to do anything other than this? Because you're ruling kingdom with nishkam karma, which is much greater than just taking sannyas. Because to be there and not to be attached takes a greater dedication and commitment. So he said, you don't do it. And Janak Maharaj agreed and continued to rule. So therefore, when character building is neglected and taxing is increased, the taxing increased, character building is not developed, dharma and artha is not discussed, that civilization will always try to cheat. They will always cheat, right? So therefore the disparities of resources, in 1980, a CEO of a major corporation earned 42 times more than an average worker. In 2007, it became 344 times more than an average worker. What do you expect to happen? Both people have not taught dharma. The concept of ethics has not been taught to them. One is becoming arrogant, desensitized, extremely selfish. and other person is becoming very sensitive. One is desensitized, other is very sensitive, and even this guy is becoming very selfish. But the outcome of each of their selfishness is totally different. And this is called a clash between a leftist ideology and the capitalist ideology, which Narad Muni did not discourage communistic idea, did not discourage capitalistic idea. He harmonized them by the bringing the principle of what? The principle of uh, dharma. So therefore, taxes increase greed and corruption, increase cheating and organized crime by the state itself. Therefore, Narad Muni told Yudhishthira, to the dedicated people, you should empower and harmonize the concept of efficiency and sensitivity. And again, Narad Muni says, what should you do with your wealth? This is not a law. Please understand. Dharma and spirituality can never be made into law. You can only inspire people. And the inspired people, when they do charity, they go mad, but they don't lose their track of bringing back more and more resources. An emotional charity to exhaust your resources altogether. A charity which is done with wisdom, understanding very clearly, I need to grow so that I can help others. स्वार्थ से ही निस्वार्थ की भावना आती है. एक नंगा दिगंबर means one who's covered by the direction. If you go and ask a cloth from him, however sensitive he or she may be, they will not be able to give you. They may cry for you, but they will not support you because there is nothing. अगर आप समर्थ रहोगे तो ही तुम निस्वार्थ सेवा कर सकते हो. Therefore, Narad Muni says one part should be used for daily maintenance. He is not even talking to the wealthy people. He is talking to ordinary people. Second part is for the future security of the family. देखो कितना सुंदर लिख रहा है. Sometimes those who are pure spiritualists will say just depend on Krishna. No, dependence on Krishna comes after you have done everything which has been given by Krishna. Intelligence, ability to work hard, ability to integrate everything. Depending on Krishna means offering gratitude to Krishna, offering gratitude to Lord Ram, offering gratitude to Lord Shiva. And third part is for enjoyment. एक राज्य कार्य करने वाला, एक रजोगुण में रहने वाला, they need some kind of entertainment for themselves. Music, art, drama, dance, sports, right? If there is a balanced thing, then what does it do? It gives you great happiness. And that great happiness you want to share with others. And therefore, whatever Narad Muni is talking, he is not ordering. He is basically talking about human psychology, how it works. If you are connected to that human psychology, ultimately you will also come to the psychology of, I want to share what I have with others. And how do you share that? You do not recklessly give. In the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about charity done to the qualified people. And charity is always given to a person rather than a thing. Charity is given to a community rather than a abstract thing. You need to know. Yes, there is a one concept that आप जिसको दान दे रहे हो उसको समझना चाहिए, नहीं समझना चाहिए, and you should not worry what they do with that money. No, it's a poetic reality, but the practical reality, according to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, your charity, when you give, you need to know whom are you giving, because it is not a charity, it is an empowerment, right? Now this is a beautiful discussion between Lakshmi and Rukmini. Rukmini herself is a goddess of fortune, but she's taken a role of a daughter of a king. and she's the wife of Krishna. One day, she met with Lakshmi. Generally, we know Lakshmi baat karti hai, Krishna gives the philosophy, we understand. Ram spoke to Bharat, we understand. But we never ever hear that Lakshmi speaking. हम जाकर लक्ष्मी से बात करते रहे, लक्ष्मी माता हमें ये चाहिए. So Rukmini asked this very relevant question, where do you stay? Huh? And she asked this question to Rukmini, Lakshmi. How to earn wealth? How to grow based upon that earning? How to maintain which one has grown? And how to make Lakshmi permanently settle? The permanently settling means your future legacy. May not be you, but your future legacy. These are the main four questions in one sense Rukmini asked Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi Devi's answer is so brilliant. Right? We will see that and we'll quote with the modern people also. What did she say? The first thing she said, Lakshmi said, I stay with those people, those who are Kriya Shila, active. Second, those who are fearless. Third, those who are rooted in their core competency, not trying to do something else. I remember, it's a true story, maybe many stories like that. There was a Shetty businessman and had a hotel, which a hotel was running. And somebody told him, I know this story, so kind of part to this story also. And one of his friend told him, Are, you just see that shop, they were a general merchant store, they are making more profit. Why don't you stop your hotel business and do that business? He was doing quite good. But unfortunately, his friend, he taught him envy rather than discovering his own competency. This man, he closed down his hotel business, started the general store. He had no experience of running a general store, and he hired few workers to run that store. And I've seen this complete story. Within no time, he lost that business also. Na ghar ka, na ghat ka. Just imagine, rooted in their core competency. In the farmers, history of farmers in India now, it's very, very, very pathetic. Now, farmers should never see into the market. Farmers should understand the weather. Very interesting. If the farmer has the competency to understand the weather condition after the 6 months, what is going to happen after 6 months? Accordingly, he will plant different kinds of seeds. And that is what the farming would happen. The farmers knew by the whole principle of the sky would function. They would come to know in the month of Jan or in the month of October, November, what would be the weather during the rainy season 6 months. Very interesting. 80 to 90%. I have a book with me about this. Very interesting. One scholar has written a book on this. And he said, our farmers have given up this process. उन्होंने बंद कर दिया इसको देखना. वो भाव देखते कि द्राक्षी का भाव कितना है, वो देखते कि कांदा का भाव कितने होने वाला है. And because of that, they lost the idea of seeing the weather forecasting. And then when they lose everything, now they're actually questioning God only. अरे आपने मेरा सारा वाट लगा दिया. अरे आपने खुद अपने आप को वाट लगाया. If you are not rooted in the core competency. And Adam Smith, whenever he wrote this book, following in the Protestant ethics, what did he say? He said, wealth is not a reward or punishment. It is not a divine dispensation. It has nothing to do with, God cursing you because you're losing wealth. God is cursing you because you're making wealth. Where do we differ? It's a very interesting dependence on God. When does dependence on God happens? Dependence on God happens only after you have done your side of the story. God has given you intelligence, God has given you senses, God has given you society. ये सब भगवान से आया हुआ है. Our connection to God is connected to gratitude, not depending upon Him without putting our own efforts at all. So, what did he say? He said, wealth can be earned by patience, reason, and hard work. And what was Lakshmi saying 5,000 years ago? Whenever she spoke to Rukmini, she's speaking this 5,000 years ago, but she's echoing the same principle since the eternality, in the Vedas. कि किस प्रकार से इसको कर सकते हो. Active है, fearless है, rooted in the core competency. Next. Now Lakshmi is saying something which will hit you hard. What she says, satisfaction is the enemy of progress. It is not being satisfied with what one has is the secret of earning more. She also says one who does not desire anything for oneself, she does not stay with them. Why she had to stay with them? Because those who are in the mode of goodness, they can never make great wealth. Why? Because their condition is to be happy in all conditions. 17th chapter Bhagavad Gita, no, 14th chapter Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna defines three modes of material nature, he said, what is the person in the mode of goodness? The mode of goodness is conditioned to be happy. अगर 1 रुपया तो happy है, 1 रुपया नहीं है तो भी happy है. He can be happy with water, he can be happy with lemon juice. Such a person cannot be a king. Such a person cannot be a leader. Such a person cannot be a manager. Such a person can be a teacher, where that he will never exploit the children. He doesn't have the desire to grow. He allows the children, he teaches them very transparently. So therefore, what Lakshmi is saying is very interesting. He said, if you are satisfied, I don't stay there. मैं अगर आपके साथ में रहना चाहते हो तो आपको हमेशा एक एम्बिशन होना पड़ेगा. Wanting to grow, wanting to grow, wanting to grow. And that wanting to grow, not to become frustrating and obsession, as Narad Muni said, there should be continual discussion of dharma also. No, this is in the Mahabharata. And then what does she say? This is about making money and growing money. And she talks about maintaining the wealth. How do you maintain the wealth? When you respect the universal integral law. Serves regularly wise people as a balanced mind. One of the greatest tragedy, wealthy people, they make their money and their children squander it all. They squander it all the money. There are so many stories of wealthy people. They had so much of wealth thinking that this wealth could go on forever. But because they did not connect their children to dharma, the children feel entitlement. As much as grumbling we get to hear in this part of Mumbai, South Mumbai, which we do not hear somewhere where, in other part of the world. Therefore, she focused on this principle also. It's a very interesting. I was listening to few talks in America. It's a very fascinating in regards to understand. There are these liberals and there are this conservative, the Republicans and the Democrats, right? And the Republic now also, because of whatever we may differ with Christian philosophy, but there is values in regards to family life, in regards to no abortion, in regards to earning with certain values, giving charity, right? So because of this, they openly talk about this. There are few speakers. They have a big connection in the universities and they're talking about this principle, talking to women. We will come to that. Where does Lakshmi stays with women? Right. So therefore, if we have certain character, I see the extravagance, the arrogance and desensitization has come to those people who have suddenly become rich and wealthy. Those who are aristocratic, those who earned wealth with proper understanding, they always have a steady growth along with giving it to the society, to empowering the society. We will study that in the evening. Our Rishikesh Mafatlal, the son of Arvind Mafatlal, who was one of the biggest charitable person, how he did that charity. He would say, he would tell his grandchildren that there are two kinds of wealth, the Asuri and the demonic and Daiva. The Asuri will come to you, you become arrogant, it takes your happiness, it takes your relationship, it takes your wealth also, it stays back with you what? Daridrata. Therefore, character maintains the wealth. And what sustains the wealth? Your connection to the Supreme Lord, Narayan. And therefore, please understand the Gujaratis, the Sindhis, and the Marwadis. Up until now it is changing. The educated class of people are becoming atheist. But whether it was Bajaj, whether it was Birlas, whether it was, whichever the older wealthy family, they always worshipped Lord Narayan along with Lakshmi. Therefore, many generation the wealth sustained with them. When we say Narayan, Narayan for the Parsi people could be different. Narayan for the other community people maybe, but the principle of Narayan is there. Sustainability comes from there. And then again, when Rukmini asked, where does she stay amongst women? Sometimes we may say, "Arey, unko kyun chahiye wealth?" Very interesting. See, this is there in the Mahabharata. Do they also have wealth? Again, he says, action centric, engaged in the act of associating and serving the resourceful, devatas and the learned brahmanas, having cows and serving them. Right. I reside not where there is no orderliness. Action without vision or mission. Continuous conflict with the spouse. Wealth will not stay there. Desiring to recklessly go out and being shameless. Now, this is very interesting. One of our person he was talking about, he has they sell diamond jewelry, and when they were hoping that market will not be good when there was some kind of natural disaster in America. You know what happened? Those who receive security, social security, they spend more money on buying jewelry rather than buying stability for their family. And therefore, the Indian economics is a feminine in nature, not masculine in nature. We see all these jokes in English language coming out. What is that joke? The joke is, it is better that my wallet is stolen because it will be stolen by my wife. Now, these jokes does not actually show the actual result. It is said that now also 26 to 27% of the saving is made by the Indian family compared to, 5 to 6% in America and Europe. And why like this? Because women by nature, they fear about the future. and that quality becomes very beneficial for the family. आगे क्या होगा? So therefore they start saving. I can tell you story of one devotee. No, no, our one friend, Radhakund Prabhu. I'll take his name. So his father was working. He was a kabaddi player, very strong, working in a business, and suddenly his company closed down, and he went into great difficulty. And his wife was asking, "What happened?" That is Radhakund Prabhu's mother. He said, "What happened?" He said, "No, I lost my job. There is nothing now." She said, "Don't worry. This lady, whatever money she got, she had purchased a shop. उसने एक shop खोला था. And then she had also purchased another flat also. Small flat, whatever she could purchase. And from what? From all the money she would collect. Whatever her relatives, friends, family saving from this, she would collect all that money. And she told her husband, don't be discouraged. Let us restart again something. And in this way, Radha Kundru always tell that story. He said, whenever I came back to Bombay, I would give her everything because I knew that she will not do just throwing things here and there. This Swami Vaidyanathan and Guru Murthy, they talk about in their economic stories that in South India, some of the biggest business people were sponsored by their sister. They would tell their husband, "अरे मेरे भाई को थोड़ा मदद करो ना खड़े होने के लिए." Give them some facility. There is a story of Lal Bahadur Shastri, and this is all over. Now, these stories do not come in the big newspaper, the economic growth. Why? Because they're small, small. Little drop has made into, like as Ganeshji yesterday was mentioning, 47%. The unorganized sector gives income to India. And all this unorganized sector, they are religious by nature. They believe some kind of honesty. They have the life of cooperation. They give help to others also. No? So therefore, independent women at the end of the day have less resources to look forward. Right? I did this exercise in one school among the girls from highly modernized city. I said, if somebody gives you 50,000 rupees today, what will you do? And what did they say? They say, we will buy a makeup kit. They only talked about spending for their personal beauty, for their personal enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada, he talks about Kolkata in 1920s. He said people would come to work in Kolkata city. They would make some money, go back to their village and buy a land. So therefore there is a concept of Dravya and Dhan. Dhana is basically growing and Dravya is spending. So therefore Lakshmi is talking about this feminine economics. If you study carefully, if the wealth is managed by women who are kind of women which Lakshmi is speaking, your wealth is always safe. But if they have a masculine in nature, then your wealth will not be protected. And therefore, what do people want? This is a psychology. It says women require wholesomeness, or feminine energy looks for wholesomeness, and a masculine energy looks for perfection. Perfection at the cost of health, perfection at the cost of relationship, perfection at the cost of integral growth. And the modern world, both men and women, they are desiring perfection at the cost of wholesomeness. Therefore there is a breakage of family system. And Narad Muni is talking about wealth generating and maintaining. Do you maintain your family with 1/4 of your income, or half, or 3/4 of your income? Do you take care of those who are depending on you, like the state, other dependent family members, the elderly, businessmen, sculptors, and the underprivileged by providing wealth and grains? This is what Yudhishthira Maharaj asked by Narad Muni. And it says, And then one very interesting he says that, my dear Yudhishthir, whenever you want to make more wealth, he said, do not disturb your core capital. He said you should only invest in a new business if there is a great conformity and your capital is not completely disturbed. If you do that, he said, you will never rise again. Huh? And then part of that he talks about supporting others also. Therefore, the example of dharmic governance is, it is not capitalistic in nature, not communistic in nature, it is cooperative model. The prime focus of such model is everyone grows while keeping the concept of self growth. Swa and Sarva, they are interconnected. Loka Sangra and Swadharma, they are interconnected. And therefore, generally, if you study carefully, why the education system was so organized, only the wealthy and the royalty would send their children to Gurukul. Why like that? Because let them stay away from pampered by their own family member. If they stay with less resources in the teacher's house, they will develop gratitude. Temporary distance eventually brings family together. Constantly staying together eventually separates the family. This has been the greatest tragedy of our Hindu civilization. And another greatest tragedy, children fail to learn the art of ingenuity and creativity caused by lack of resources. We have this false understanding that Indians are not adventurous. माता पिता अपने बच्चों को एडवेंचर करने नहीं देते. This is the present one. You talk to any Marwadi, any Gujarati, any Sindhi, they came from Rajasthan. Like we have one friend, Ashok Nahar. His father left a village at the age of 14. Where did he live? He lived from one village in Rajasthan. Where he came? He came to one town called as Hospet in Karnataka. Even some of the Kannadigas may not know about that town. What to speak of others? When he was 14-year-old, I know so many Americans did not leave their city. But we say, oh, they are so adventurous. Adventurous for sake of fun. But these guys were adventurous for the sake of purposeful life. Can we make such stories? Talk to people. I talk to such people. When did you come? He came at the age of 14. With what? With nothing in the hand. Because गांव में भी कुछ नहीं था, इधर भी कुछ नहीं था, जाएगा तो क्या जाएगा? So he was forced to be adventurous. He was forced to be creative. He was forced to be original. And because of that, now, he recently passed away and we were there for his memorial ceremony. In his own, way of doing business, he actually followed the principle of Lakshmi without knowing about it. He empowered his workers. His workers became his partners eventually. And he did such a social service. He was also spiritually connected. His people were saying he must have distributed more than 100,000 Mangal Sutras, gave land to the schools and colleges, did so much of charity, but he never stopped being a businessman. So his business became karma yoga. His business became devotion, because whatever was coming, he was also offering that. Now we have stopped doing that. Our children, when they go to Western world to study, they come back with a desire of no more doing anything independent, because we have given them so much of security. The act of adventure has gone away. What kind of adventure has come? The adventure of bungee jumping, adventure of skydiving. These are all artificial adventure. Your grandparents did the real adventure of going anywhere in any part of the world and establishing the business. And therefore, our Sanatan Dharma Remember what we discussed in the 15th, 14th century, the aristocracy was abhorred. The Vaishyas were glorified. Eventually, Vaishyas were condemned. The communists were glorified. But Bhishma Dev tells Yudhishthira Maharaj, one's cabinet should be designed in such a way, the Vaishyas should be in the largest number. The ratio, he says, 3 intellectuals, 11 administrative, 21 the people who know the art of growing, and 4 skill people, and 1 who will connect all these people called as Suta. He said when your cabinet has such a resources, such kind of system, then your prosperity grows. And to keep the prosperity dharmic, there are intellectuals, philosophers. And to protect that prosperity, there are administrators, the Kshatriyas. And there are Shudras who will always help to keep the principle of hard working. And in this way, when there is an integration, then what happens? That Lakshmi and Narayan will always be worshipped, not simply ritualistically, but philosophically and realistically also. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, we'll take questions. And today evening, there is this fantastic presentation of empowering the tribal people, not charity giving. Therefore, it is called as Vayam. Vayam means it is not Milin. Vayam means we all. We all are responsible for our own growth, not receiving just charity and trying to depend upon governments or people's charity. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was a wonderful talk. You really help us understand worldly concepts like money, business, from the lens of history and scriptures. We have quite a few questions. We'll try to answer some of them. So I have limited money. I'm from a middle class family. I have a choice of giving charity to the temple or helping my mate's son in his studies. What should I do?
Again, therefore, there is no conflict. There is no conflict in regards, if you ask this principle that if you have a limited resources, I was talking to one worker, ordinary worker. No, he said, I worked very hard. I started making some money. I wanted to do something. So this person, then he took to the path of spirituality also. Back in Goa, he was from Goa, and his maid servant's daughter, 2 of them, he said, I will educate you. But he said regularly along with the education, he was also giving her spiritual knowledge. And because he was giving her spiritual knowledge along with that education, so what happened was she became extremely grateful, and therefore she continued the path of studying Gita, practicing spirituality, and got education also. I was in Jabalpur. There is a family, again lower middle class, little small business, she's a teacher, no children. They did not had a children, not that they didn't want to, but they had no children. So what she did was, next to her bungalow, small bungalow, they built a small place. And they actually invited 15 tribal children to come and stay there. They regularly taught them principles from Mahabharata and Ramayana and gave them education also. So therefore, this is also building a temple in their heart. It is as important as giving money. Today, I have a, like in, we only talk about Tirupati Balaji, Sai Baba temple, which Siddhivinayak temple is controlled by the government, and they're not giving, why they're controlling, they should give it back to the people. My problem is, even if you give back to the private people, what is their guarantee? Can they handle these resources properly? No, it is this way also bad, that way also bad. Therefore, I was talking to one very big scholar, Vaishnav scholar. He said, you know what, the interesting principle, you have to understand the concept of temple. Why Aurangzeb destroyed so many temples? He said the temples were destroyed because the temples were not only place for worship, temples were place for learning center. Temples were learning every aspect of life. Annamay Kosh, Vanay Kumay Kosh, Vidyanmay Kosh, Anandmay Kosh, and Pranamay Kosh. If you go and see Varadaraj temple, originally it was built connecting all the five koshas. There was the growth of all the five koshas. The external one was the kosh of your physical development, business development. वहाँ दुकान वगैरह सब कुछ अभी भी है. But that is how it was designed. So by destroying one temple, you actually destroy the entire social fabric. When the temple only becomes place for coming and offering puja, then I come to Balaji, offer my money so that my money should increase. You know, money increases with the government for using wrong reason. If the people in the name of Balaji inspire the poor children, along with education, they give them Dharma Shastra also. What happened? They will have the temple in their heart. They will have altar in their house also. Therefore, the temples are the place for helping people to create a temple in their home and in their heart. Otherwise, it is a temple cannot separate people from their family connection. Temple cannot separate people from their social connection. A temple is a place for an education. A Vidya Mandir है. ये केवल पूजा का मंदिर नहीं है. No, that is how proper understanding is there. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada writes about the story of Sakshi Gopal. What is Sakshi Gopal? हर चीज के लिए मंदिर में आते थे लोग. Not only for puja, because they were educated people. You know, so therefore when Aurangzeb destroyed, yes, because he was a fanatical also, but he was also a great politician. He knew if you want to destroy, I have to destroy these temples. So therefore one has to see, you know, where effectively my charity should be given so that it enhances. You have all the temples, but there are no faithful people only to worship. Then what will happen? There are hundreds of temples. There is a person in Singapore. You know, there is this whole business of stealing the old statues from the temple. They steal it for 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees. And when the statues reach in American border, they go for millions of dollars. And there are these people who are working volunteer organization. They're trying to bring back the statues back to India. But the problem is bringing back ho gaya. But who will worship them? Their value is so great. And because they brought it back now, then there has to be greater security also. You know, now sometimes we glorify, oh, there are thousands of temples in Ayodhya, in Vrindavan, and in Rishikesh. But where is water there? Now nobody is coming. Jamuna is very clean. So we have to ask Krishna, Krishna, are you happy now or happy before the lockdown happened? If you are going to Vrindavan without being sensitive, only for my perfection and dumping everything down, then we have to question our devotion also properly. Devotion. See, the problem with the communists is that they say all this is bogus. Just give them wealth, give them money. You know, they teach them arrogance. They teach them envy. They teach them rebellion. They teach them disruption, hatred. पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी के प्रति हेट करो, ब्राह्मणों को हेट करते जाओ. No, they don't teach them coordinated life. So the people who are practicing dharma, they should teach integrated life. If I go to a village and I tell, you know, if you kill a cow, आपको इतने बार जन्म लेने पड़ेगा, जितना बाल गाय के शरीर पे है तब तक आपको उतना ही बार गाय बनना पड़ेगा, आपको slaughter किया जाएगा. I do not consider water problem. I do not consider any system for that. I just give that talk and walk away to next village, eating my puran poli in some rich farmer's house. Therefore, my talk also should be connected to the surrounding of the people.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Lakshmi is not happy with somebody who's very satisfied. So is Lakshmi, is satisfaction truly a virtue?
In regards to, if you are a leader, Chanakya says this: Yudhishthira Maharaj was very satisfied in one sense, right? The Pandavas were very satisfied in the forest before they came to Hastinapur with Mother Kunti. The rishis were the one they sent him. You are not supposed to be here in the forest. You are supposed to be in Hastinapur, in the challenging ground. When you live a satisfied life, then you are very selfish. When does the satisfied life comes? When you become old, 60 plus, you have done everything to the society, you have done everything for your family. Then you say, now Vanaprastha life should be actually the life of satisfaction. But even in that age, you have the courage, capacity to keep. Vanaprastha is defined not by age. Vanaprastha is defined by the principle of being incapacitated. No, and having a proper legacy. If there is a good legacy for your children, then you retire. Focus completely on spiritual practices. But if an 18-year-old boy says, I have no more desire, it's a very dangerous thing. It cannot be possible. Either is a lazy or is wrongly advised. Therefore, when say Lakshmi says, I do not stay with satisfied people, means what? The desire to grow is not there for oneself and for others. It is never not a virtue. It's a virtue only. But satisfaction where, how, and when, that is important.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'm earning money for my own pleasure. Is that adharmic?
Narad Muni gave that example. You earn for your pleasure also, but only for your pleasure. Why not become an animal then? The pig is happy with eating the stool. No mental anxiety also. But if a human being is only living a selfish life, again, therefore I am saying, they have the right to do that. As a government, I will not take their money away. Because there is a greater corruption also. So therefore, again, what does Narad Muni say? There should be a regular talk about Artha Prapti and Dharma Prapti. If Artha Prapti and Dharma Prapti is happening properly, so what does Dharma say? Again, integrated. Dharmic desire should be fulfilled. And Dharma has to be understood. And Artha should be earned. And one should also prepare for freedom from all the other attachments. So therefore, when you live an isolated life, you can never be happy. No. So nobody is saying that one should not enjoy. We discussed that. Narad Muni is saying that one part of your wealth should be used for enjoyment. But when you focus only on enjoyment, is it a proper human psychology? But now, because we are not discussing that, so therefore people talk, अरे मेरा पैसा मैं कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ, सही है, आप कर सकते हो, आपके ऊपर कोई दादागिरी नहीं करेगा. लेकिन अगर आप नहीं करोगे, सही ज्ञान नहीं दोगे, तो जबरदस्ती से लोग आपसे छीन लेंगे. So why not do it properly? Right? I'll just give that. When Chitrakoot, when this Arvind Mafatlal group, they started this Sadguru Seva Trust. It's a land of Chambal. A lot of dacoits would be there. But the dacoits would never ever touch the vehicle of the Sadguru Seva Trust. They said, no, ये अच्छा काम कर रहा है. तो डाकू के मन में भी संवेदनशीलता आ जाती है. अगर ऐसा नहीं करोगे, अच्छा व्यक्ति भी डाकू बन जाता है. So we have to choose. We allow society to become daku. We are part of the society.
Prabhuji, can I have one more question?
Yeah, we can take one too.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'm earning money which is not aligned to my true nature. I took up my profession looking outside. I'm earning money, but I'm not very satisfied. What do I do?
So therefore, there is not a problem. Again, the Shastras do talk about apad dharma. People want to do many things, but that many thing doesn't have a proper income. I want to be an artist. There is no guarantee. Then I want to be a singer, but there is no guarantee I'll make money. So therefore, apad dharma is what? You continue your interest in music, but also learn something and eventually start making money, invest that very money for your growth, and eventually if you can convert your very passion into profession, so passion and profession can be integrated. May not be from very beginning, but eventually you can do that. Many people have done like that. So therefore, emergency, focus on roti kapda makan. But as roti kapda makan becomes stabilized, then focus on your passion and grow from there.
Prabhuji, can a teacher be ambitious also?
And therefore the whole principle of teacher cannot be ambitious, because if the teacher becomes ambitious, then he will use children for his growth. The teacher's ambition is to make ambitious children, and therefore it is very important. There are certain profession which are glorified in the Shastras. The profession of a soldier, he cannot condemn others' happy life, but he says, for you all to live happily, I am willing to dedicate my life. Therefore, the soldier's life is glorified. Similarly, teacher's life is glorified. What is a teacher's life? A teacher's life is that he has no ambition other than helping children to grow. Therefore, the Shastra says a teacher should never stay with the capable people. A teacher should always stay with the incapable people so that make them capable and leave them. A teacher cannot be a business person. A teacher cannot be want to be a famous person. Fame comes because he's caring for the children. That's one thing. And therefore, the whole concept of teaching is a powerful. And now what happened? Teaching profession has become, profession for only ladies, and especially those ladies, those who are focusing on their family so much. 4 घंटा काम करो आ जाओ. But the teaching profession was always the profession of dedicated people who are willing to put 18 hours, 20 hours. And it was the duty of the state to provide them, like last time in my Bharata Bhagya Vedanta seminar we discussed, there were more than 500,000 schools. And all these schools were not run publicly. They were all private school, but not private school what we see now. The private school means owned by a person, not owned by a person, but run by somebody else. No, there are big industrial schools, but it is not run by they themselves. It is run by somebody else. They have hired teachers. But here the teacher does not hire himself by somebody else. He himself or herself, they run the school because they know what to teach. And therefore, the wealthy landlords would provide them land, cows, grains, and the student would come there, learn, and then go back after being educated. No. So we'll stop here. And today evening, not only you all come, I would not say for myself, but because this person has done a great work, and we are also having Rishikesh Mafatlal. As I was saying, people know about his spiritual activities and his business activities, but nobody knows how much he is also involved in social activities. So you'll come to hear both of them, of their contribution. Especially Milind Tattva will speak about that, and Rishikesh Mafatlal will speak about about the principle of living for others, and then please invite more number of people to understand, to see actually what Narad Muni said. Can it be implemented? Are there people who are implementing? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this lovely talk. You really help us integrate all our lives together, our professional, our personal, our spiritual life. And that is really the purpose of Pavitra also, which is actually like an online cafe where we come together, have conversations of how we can lead a more wholesome life. So thank you, Prabhuji. And yes, if you want to be part of the Pavitra community, there is a link which we have put in the chat window. Kindly click on this and stay connected, and see you in the evening today at 6 o'clock India Standard Time. Have a Pavitra day for those in India and Pavitra evening in the West. Thank you. Bye-bye.